Hello, I am Debbie McKeever, founder and owner of Strong and Healthy Temple. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome. I wanted to talk about today having the Christ mind. And this is something that I thought about. I was actually pondering over it Tuesday and Wednesday, and I decided to make a podcast about it last night. And what my thoughts were stemming from was the last video and podcast that I made about why your affirmations may not be working. And one of the topics that I discussed is affirming out into the future. And I thought about how in the Bible, how the character of Christ, and I do just want to preface this like I did on the podcast, and I always say this, it doesn't really matter if you see the Bible as literal or not. That's not the point I'm making. I always want you to relate it back to your own mindset. But the point that I want to make is whenever he performed miracles and manifestations, everything was always instant. There was no waiting period. And I discussed on the podcast last night that I strongly believe that the reason for this is because he knew exactly who he was. Like, he knew that he was a divine being in a human body, having a physical experience here in the physical realm. Like, he knew exactly what his relationship was to the Creator. And I think that the issue with us, because even when we do believe we have what we say right now, there's always this, well, not always, but in most cases, there's like this waiting period. Like, even if we're not obsessing over it or whatever, there's like a waiting period for the physical reality to catch up to what we believe that we have. And you didn't see this with the character of Christ. And if you're not familiar at all, with the miracles and things that he performed, then I would highly recommend that you go over to the New Testament and read the four Gospels, because anytime that he healed anyone or that he prayed about anything or performed any miracles, the manifestation was always instant. Like, there was no waiting. And he didn't, and as far as his healing, he didn't even have to be in the same room, because there's no distance in the spirit. And so you see this in the instance of Jairus's daughter, the centurion's servant, where Christ just spoke the word and the centurion's servant was healed. Jairus's daughter was brought back from death. You saw Christ instantly receiving divine instructions when they ran out of wine at the wedding reception, and he turned the water into wine. He gave them instructions on what to do, pouring the water into those large pottery type jars, and it turned into, not only did it turn into wine, but it was the best wine. So it was better than the wine that was made from grapes. And when he needed money for taxes, immediately the gold was available in the fish's mouth. When there was the multitude of people that needed to be fed, when he looked up and he thanked the Father for the provision, it was instant. Like, everything that he did was instant. There was no waiting period. And I believe that the reason why our manifestations are not instant is because we've forgotten who we are. We've been I hate to say brainwashed, but for for lack of a better word, we've been brainwashed into believing that we're just humans, when really we are divine beings having a physical experience in the physical realm, just like that character of Christ. And that is our example. And the scripture tells you that you have the mind of Christ, and part of having the Christ mind is knowing who you are, knowing what your relationship is with the infinite intelligence, with God, and you have that infinite power within you. And so the thing that you have to do is you have to stop believing that you're separate, that God is or the creator, whatever it is you call it, is not some separate man, sitting up in the sky, pointing its finger or whatever. You have that God is spirit, and you have that divine being within you. God is omnipresent, meaning that God is everywhere at all times. And when you're a spirit, that's possible. If you're just a man, you can't be everywhere at all times. And because we're having a physical experience here, that's why we can only be in one place. But God is a spirit and is dwelling within us. And so we have that infinite power within us for, instant manifestation and instant miracles. And I did discuss one thing that happened to me on the podcast, and I won't discuss that particular point here. I will drop the link in the description box for the podcast so you can listen at that for yourself. But I wanted to talk about one thing. My mom and I were discussing this today. My mom got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis earlier this year, and if you know anything about that, it's very debilitating. And she got to the point where she couldn't do anything, including driving. She couldn't do anything for herself, and I couldn't get there right away. My siblings, my nephews, and my cousin Margie, they were all just fantastic in, assisting my mom. And, and when I was able to get there, something very interesting happened. And I didn't really think about it at the time, but before I got there, because I could hear the pain in her voice over the phone, because we always talk several times a day, I believed that she was healed. And remember, I talked about, in the last video about, when you're making your affirmations, you believe that you've already received it. So not that she was going to be healed, but that she was healed. And it's interesting because as soon as I got there, it was instant. She just turned a 180. And at the time we were all like, whoa, like what happened? Like, because it's not like she was, faking it or anything like that. Obviously, it had been diagnosed, by a specialist, and, she couldn't do anything. And, we were all just trying to figure it out. My siblings, everybody was kind of joking around, oh, like you need to stay, or you should have been here, and it wasn't until after I made that podcast last night that I really put it together. The thing is that unknowingly I was operating in my Christ mind. And it's kind of like the lady who touched Christ's garment, that had the issue of blood, and as soon as she touched his garment, her healing was instant. It's like as soon as my mom came into contact with me, her healing was instantaneous, to the point that she's able to drive herself to her therapies. And so that should be the norm. Like our manifestations should be instant, just like Christ, because I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning. I know I mentioned it on the podcast. Christ told his disciples that not only would they do the works that he did, but that they would do greater works. And so we should be doing greater, our miracles and manifestations should be greater than those of the character of Christ. And again, I would encourage you to, go and to read the Gospels. I just think it's a matter of us awaking from our slumber and our sleep and coming out of this this state of amnesia. It's like it's like the movie The Matrix. It's like, we're in this false reality. I always say that the spirit realm, and it's the truth, the spirit realm is actually more real than the physical realm, and that's why circumstances don't matter, when it comes to manifesting. Like you can't pay attention to what's going on in the so-called physical reality. Once you declare it in the spiritual realm, it is, period. And so it should be just as instantaneous in the third dimension, just like it was with Christ. And so we have to redevelop our Christ minds so that we can get back to the point that miracles and manifestations are just as normal as breathing. And so anyway, hope that I'm going to wrap it up with that. Hope that you enjoyed this and got something out of it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I would love for you to subscribe to the videos, share the videos with your family, friends, and network. Hit the bell icon to receive notifications of when I release new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and make it a fantastic day.